This is the holy grail of what you're going to do when you feel like you're going to shout. And this tool and technique, underpinned by neuroscience, of course, has got me through 15 years of responding to behavior calmly. In the residential children's home, when I'm being held up by knife point by teenagers, within my classroom, within my own home with foster care children, and thousands of children in my own private childcare business, this is exactly what I do when I feel like I'm going to shout. So let's take a look at the tools and techniques and, of course, the neuroscience to underpin. I'm Danielle Douglas, the Behaviour and Neuroscience Specialist, and we are working with over 87 countries around the world, supporting over 60,000 people. Our Behaviour Planner was Education Book of the Year 2025 finalist, and we've just been nominated for another award. If you haven't already grabbed our free resources, then make sure you do so. Here on YouTube, we've got a full behavior library, and you might like this video that is tagged here as well. The Children Behaviour Brains book is now available, and you can get the children's book that teaches children how to manage and understand their behaviour brains. So if you want to learn about how and why we can manage when we feel like we're going to shout or yell, you're in the right place. Let's take a look. Okay, so what is happening in our brains and what is going on when we are managing with behaviors and we feel like we want to shout? I just want to tell you that when you are managing a behavior and you feel like you want to scream, shout, and you're angry, that is perfectly normal. Your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to. When a child shows behavior or starts showing behavior prompts and cues that we feel are negative, our brain jumps to the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is the part of the brain that keeps us alive and safe. It is the amygdala's job to keep you alive, which therefore means that it goes into the fight, flight, or freeze. This means that at the point where children are negatively behaving, our brain is trying to keep us alive. Unfortunately for us, our amygdala cannot decide or decipher between real or non-real danger. So your brain doesn't understand that by a child reacting or behaving negatively, it doesn't understand that that is not a life-threatening action. Your brain just automatically jumps into survival mode. Your brain is trying to protect you and keep you alive. It will trigger the fight, flight, or freeze regardless of what the situation is. Your brain doesn't quite understand that just by a child misbehaving, you're not going to die. So what we need to do is try and train our amygdala and switch it to the prefrontal cortex to tell it that we are okay. So it wasn't until years of trying to manage behavior and actually thinking about the reasons why I was reacting the way I was. When children within the classroom or within the home were showing signs of negative behavior, I would feel myself getting angry. I would feel my blood rising. I would feel sweaty. I would feel often a little bit shaky, and I couldn't understand why. It wasn't until I started to study the neuroscience into the actual reasons why I was reacting to behavior in the way that I did that I began to realize what was going on in my brain. Because I was in the amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze, I was having these reactions to behavior, which were things like anger, frustration, shouting, sweating, and I needed to understand how to switch my brain from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. In the prefrontal cortex, I would be able to approach behavior in a much calmer way. In the prefrontal cortex, we can think, listen, process, and understand. And now I can freakishly manage any sort of behavior really, really calmly. Like I say, there's been situations in the residential children's homes where I've had knives up to my throat and I've responded in a really calm way. Because I've learned to control and switch my brain from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex, I can now approach behaviors like it's just going for a walk in the park. So, exactly how do we switch our brain from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex, and how do we respond without shouting, screaming, or getting worked up? There are a few ways that you can switch your brain from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. For example, questioning, distraction, and problem solving. Exercise also works. However, at this moment in time, it's probably not likely that you could go for a run. So switching your brain from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex needs to happen quite quickly. You need to understand that when a child shows negative behavior, your brain will automatically jump to the amygdala. The first thing that you need to do is remind yourself or think to yourself, you need to bring it as fast as possible from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. The first thing that I do is ask myself a question. This gets me to think and starts processing information. So it might be, am I safe? Am I okay? You can also remind yourself that at this moment, you need to bring your amygdala out of the question, prefrontal cortex, you are the adult and you are safe. Another thing that you can do alongside questioning is quickly distract yourself and or the child. By using distraction, you can easily and quickly pull your brain and the child's brain from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. Another thing that you can do is to problem solve. So you can ask yourself at that point, what is wrong with the child? How can I help them? What can I do? By problem solving, you are getting your brain to understand and question different situations to pull you from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. Okay, so let's have a look at this in terms of a walkthrough, exactly how I manage those behaviours and how I do it quickly. Don't get me wrong, it's taken a little bit of practice, but it looks a little bit something like this. So a child starts to display behaviours that I think are going to trigger my amygdala. Throwing, kicking, hitting, punching. Instantly, I will look at the child and think, this is going to trigger my amygdala. What can I do? The first thing that I do is to take a deep breath. Taking a deep breath will try to start bringing in that prefrontal cortex. The second thing that I'll do after I've taken a deep breath is just instinctively ask a question. I will ask the child a question to bring them from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. It might be something like, are you hurt? Are you hurt? Are you safe? And these questions work really well, especially in the residential children's home and foster care system, because you're getting the children to actually take notice of whether they are hurt or whether they are safe or not. Alongside this move, you are not only pulling your own brain out of the amygdala, you're pulling the child's brain with you as well, which will help de-escalate behaviours really quickly. We have got a video on how to de-escalate children's behaviours, and you can find that too. The next thing I will do is ask myself a question. So I've asked the child a question, are you safe? Are you hurt? And I'm going to ask myself the same questions. Are you safe? Are you hurt? Trying to bring both of our brains out of the amygdala at the same time. You can also ask yourself why the child is behaving like this. Remember, behavior is a communication. So you can ask yourself and the child, why are they behaving in this way, and what can you do to get them out of it as fast as possible? Finally, what I do is take a deep breath and I tell my amygdala we are okay. I will thank the amygdala for triggering the fight, flight, or freeze response, but I will tell them that actually I'm okay, I am safe, I'm the adult, and I've got this. I am in charge. You can go away now. If you would like more information on how to change your own amygdala to the prefrontal cortex or children's amygdala to the prefrontal cortex, we have the Children's Behaviour Brain book, which is available now. This will teach children how to manage their own behaviour brains and to recognise which behaviour brain they are using. We also have an adult version of this called Understanding Children's Behaviour Brains, Amygdala versus the Prefrontal Cortex. You can grab them now. If you would like to know more information about behaviour, I'm Danielle Douglas. Let's talk behaviour.